All right, hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Tonight is Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. This is your evening tropical update. We'll continue to track our two disturbances in the Atlantic Basin. We have Invest 96L here north of the Bahamas. We have Invest 95 down here in the central tropical Atlantic Basin. And these systems are generally moving some component of westward. 96L moving more northwest tonight. 95L moving more due west. Both these systems will be talked about in tonight's video. Neither are a major or serious threat in the short term to the U.S. And we also have the remnants of Tropical Depression Nicholas swirling tonight along the Gulf Coast. A lot of heavy rain still falling from that. So let's check on Nicholas and then we'll talk about our two disturbances. So look at the evening satellite radar combination across the southeast U.S. A lot of showers and thunderstorms associated with the remnants of Nicholas and all that tropical moisture that's surging into the region from the southwest. A lot of thunderstorm activity in western Florida, central Georgia, and then we can also see the Florida sea breeze kind of firing up this evening. And those will continue for the next couple hours. These heavy downpours are going to be a staple of the week as that general tropical moisture surge and the precipitable water surge from Nicholas is going to stay over the area, presumably through the weekend until another big front comes through. So it looks like a lot. This is going to be the story of the next couple days. A lot of heavy downpours left. The actual center of Nicholas is back here tonight across parts of Louisiana, and it's actually drifting just offshore. Now, the Hurricane Center did explicitly mention this in their last advisory before they handed it off to the Weather Prediction Center. When a tropical system comes ashore, the Hurricane Center will maintain an advisory until it's no longer, an apparent tropical storm, and it's just more like a remnant low. Then they hand it off to the Weather Prediction Center, which is like the national, the basically the what's atop of all the National Weather Service offices locally. They kind of handle regular weather type events. Storm Prediction Center handles severe weather type thing. They all kind of work together with the local offices spread across the country, and they maintain advisories from there. Hurricane Center did say they thought, the system may drift back offshore. It came in near Galveston, Houston, and kind of slowly went around, and now it's sort of like coming southward. But no anticipation, no reformation is anticipated tonight, tomorrow, or anytime in the future. A lot of dry air and wind shear are going to keep this thing in check, and we're not going to see any reformation, Nicholas, hopefully. But a lot of rain and whatnot still coming for the region. Rainfall totals so far, I think Galveston was up to 13 inches. And generally, though, Texas didn't get it as bad as we maybe thought. Just a widespread, like 6 to 10 inch rainfall total, and then closer to just 2 to 3 inches when you go inland somewhat. Houston only clocking about 2 inches of rainfall when they were forecasting at like 15 to 20 a couple days ago before the sort of track and everything shifted on Nicholas and the timing had shifted. So thankfully, the storm was kind of faster. It was more east, and it just got up and out of the picture a lot sooner. And they wound up on the backside of the storm where, instead of going northward and then staying on the wet side, it went eastward and they stayed on the dry side. So it's good news for them. And overall, not too bad of an event, but a lot of rainfall in Louisiana too. A lot of 2, 3, 4, 5 inches of rain, and some pockets like central Louisiana got over a foot of rain. Localized or locally, flash flooding is still very likely over the next couple days as all this sort of shifts off to the east. But as you can see the overall simulated radar from the NAM-NES, this pattern is going to pick up and continue through tomorrow afternoon. Another big round of showers and storms. And even today on Friday, there's just that deep tropical flow is just going to restart showers and thunderstorms every day with daytime heating. So that's going to compound already wet soil, high drainage areas, etc., etc. So keep an eye on it through the weekend and be careful traveling around this region. Road that wasn't flooded this morning, they have one bad storm and then flood in the afternoon. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our two areas of interest. Our Invest 96 and 95L. So 96L is the disturbance here near the Bahamas. 70% chance from National Hurricane Center to develop in the next 48 hours. But overall, no big changes today with this storm. The satellite presentation is not very impressive. Weak swirl here, kind of a low was trying to establish here today, but there's just so much wind shear over the storm. It's a big upper trough, and really it's more like this. It's a pretty good trough. It's shearing this thing. You see a lot of cirrus outflow, a lot of shear with it. Definitely not having a good time. Recon data this evening does show a pocket of tropical storm force winds well off to where it looks like the center may have tried to have been, but no sort of signs of any imminent low-level center organization or any kind of imminent formation. You can see the general trough axis is somewhere like this with the storm, and it's weighted off to the east side as far as the thunderstorms go. The thunderstorms are limited again because this upper trough, you can see it on water vapor as well, is just coming across and shearing the crap out of 96L. So that shear is expected to abate in some capacity. We go to the GFS here and we go into set for tomorrow afternoon. You can see our low tucks up under upper level winds that are a little bit more favorable. There's a little pocket here where the winds are lighter. That looks like when that shear does abate tonight and early tomorrow, our system probably gets its best window to develop into a named storm before it becomes more like a subtropical feature off the coast of New England in this region of time here. This is probably its best chance to develop is tomorrow. But what we're going to see is this weak low pressure kind of meander towards the North Carolina coast. It's going to come up, and by tomorrow night and early on Friday, you're going to see this thing near the Outer Banks in eastern North Carolina. It does look like we're going to see some showers and storms from this. Dam Nest, again, shows it pretty well. You can see a lot of onshore flow through early Thursday, late Thursday. You can see that swirl just offshore here, and some storms and showers kind of moving ashore, and some gusty winds likely for the Outer Banks especially. But the low swirls for a couple hours, and then it begins to pull away from the coastline and moves away. So some rainfall, some gusty winds, but not expecting a big event for eastern North Carolina overall. Not too bad. And the GFS and the Euro agree on the future of the storm. They both take it offshore, so this will be a swell rip current issue, maybe some wind advisories along the coast. But generally, it looks like the low pressure will be far enough offshore, whether it is named or not, to not be a direct threat to New England, the Mid-Atlantic region, etc. It's just going to be a offshore storm. It's just going to kind of sit there, swirl around, stir up the water, and all that fun stuff, but not likely to develop. European GFS ensembles also show this. They're all uniformly weak on the storm until way later in the forecast once it's well offshore. And hurricane models also agreeing that this thing gets up and out of here. So overall, not too big of a deal with 96L. And it does appear that looked like it could be threatening a few days ago, but no longer expecting anything too significant out of 96L. So just keep an eye on it. All right, we'll go ahead and switch to 95L, our wave off the coast of Africa. You can see the coast of Africa right here. It's made it a little ways, but it's still got a long way to go before it's anywhere near the eastern U.S. The system really hasn't changed since last night. We talked about this at length yesterday's video, and it really hasn't changed. It doesn't look any better. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure why. You figure it probably would have developed. Like yesterday, I said, oh, by tomorrow night, which is now tonight, we'll probably have this thing going along, and instead it's just kind of hanging out. So some dry air, maybe, just not really got a lot of spin yet. We didn't really get a great look at it today with like ASCAP passes on satellite winds, but if you piece together a couple partial passes and assume some continuity, you've got some winds coming up like this and then down, but there's just no backside flow yet. There's just nothing on the backside. So until this kind of digs in, spins up a little bit more, and maintains thunderstorms better, it's not going to develop. But the Hurricane Center still has like an 80 to 90% chance that it is going to develop in the next couple of days. It just kind of matters when. But these trends are important because we look at the future of the storm. You're talking about the longer it takes, the weaker it probably is going to be. And what we're looking at with 95L is this wave is just going to move to the west for the next couple of days. Okay, so the wave is like here tonight. This is showing you a couple days from now will be more in the middle Atlantic, but it's going to basically just move westward until the weekend when it'll begin to pull up towards the northern end of the Antilles. Okay, so let's go ahead and advance you to there on the GFS. So the low levels, we've got some kind of organized tropical depression, tropical storm of some intensity here on late on Sunday. Okay, so this is Sunday near the Antilles, the low levels. Okay, so what the storm is going to encounter is what we call a tropical upper tropospheric trough. We call them TUTs for short, and they're basically just these like upper troughs of really strong winds in the Atlantic, in the sub-Atlantic basin. Okay, so in this case, what we have is one. It's going to approach one on Saturday. You can see the TUT pretty clearly here, and the GFS has been really consistent with this. We go back several runs, and this is actually going days before on the models themselves, and you can see the GFS has not really budged. It really, really expects us to be here on Saturday. Pretty good confidence in the model. All right, so these can definitely disrupt storms. They cause very heavy wind shear out of the southwest, so as these storms hit them, the clouds get sheared off, and that classic wind shear problem comes up. Now, if the storm is strong, if 95L is actually a pretty intense tropical storm or hurricane at this point, it would probably have to be a hurricane to do this, but a stronger hurricane can actually buffer back against these TUTs and can kind of shield themselves to a degree because they have their own flow way up in the high levels of the atmosphere we're looking at on this model, and they can kind of push the flow back and kind of push them away as they approach, and they don't get sheared as much. A weaker storm, as soon as the thunderstorms grow up, they get ripped apart by the TUT, and then they can't sustain. So the fork in the road comes in a couple different ways. One, the intensity of the storm as it gets into this region this weekend, and then how strong it is to fight off this tide. But then where does it go from there? It looks like in some instances that there may be a door open for it to turn northward. So we're just going to go to Sunday and Monday, really. Because what we have on Sunday, Monday is a storm somewhere in this region. It may be a little bit further north than what it shows here. But we also have this upper trough across the open, across the Atlantic to the north. Okay. It's trying to keep a weakness open that this storm would just simply turn into, go past Bermuda, which is right here, and out to sea. But we have back here a pattern building, what we call a ridge over troubled water. As we go into the middle of next week, we have strong high pressure ridging over the eastern U.S. And what happens is this high pressure basically creates a way where storms go under it and they go towards the U.S. This is where we get a lot of hurricane strikes in the eastern U.S. coastline. Is you get high pressure ridge over this part of the Atlantic Basin, anomalously high pressure, and then the storms are forced southward and they have nowhere to go except land. Now, 95L may be nothing. I mean, the storm is going to be somewhere right here on the early part of during the early part of next week. If it's strong and it gets pushed down, we got a problem. If it's weak, it may not be a big deal. It may just kind of go into the Caribbean and just kind of fall apart. And then the other question is, does it turn or does it not? Is it able to get out ahead of this ridging? Is it able to follow whatever this little guy is, whether it's the remnants of 96L, if it's another trough, or is this trough just simply not strong enough? We have high pressure ridge between it, and then it has to go to the west. So the bottom line on this really is that there's a lot of scenarios still on the table, and it's really too early to say if the system is going to be a big player or not. But as you can see, it has a long way to go. It's just now coming into the screen. It's got several days before it's even near the Antilles, and then you've got a big question mark fork in the road towards the end of the weekend. So we're going to keep watching this, but it's way too early to call anything on this, and we're just going to keep tracking the model trends, etc., and we'll play it by ear. But bottom line tonight, no big deals as far as the tropics go until through this week and probably this weekend, and then next week we'll reassess what 95L is doing near the Antilles and how it's interacting with that trough, and then any other thing that may pop up. I do warn you that sometimes in this sort of pattern, you can get some stuff around here. You can get some homegrown storms. So besides 95L, we got to watch this region carefully to make sure nothing pops up near the coast, because when you get this kind of really strong anomalous ridging, sometimes stuff just appears. So we're going to watch it. Nothing imminent, nothing on the table, but we'll watch it all and we'll let you know how it plays out. So until then, as always, thanks for watching and have a good one.